So, hello, boys and ghouls. Happy Halloween. Welcome to the DIY Toycast. I'm Gordon, here with my co-host, Brett.
Yeah, this is Brett of Aegis Station, and tonight we're joined by the Corsair captain himself, the Prince of Pirates, Ken West. Kenneth,
Ahoy,
would you like to introduce yourself?
ahoy, mateys. Kenneth West here. Good to meet everybody. Glad to be on the show. Big fan of the show. Uh, Here to talk some toys with you guys.
Yeah, so Kenneth, since we have you, what have you got going on in sort of your workspace, or what sort of projects have you been working on recently?
Actually, I've just finished up as of last week what will be the last of this year's Action Figure of the Month videos. No
That's right.
spoilers. And as you have seen, finished up a sculpt for Brandon's character, the Reaver,
Right.
the Divine Serp on Instagram.
Divine Sir, friend
And
of the pod.
Friend of the pod.
yes, just finished that up as of today, actually. Cut in the joints and the articulation and everything. So I'm ready to give that a test print, make sure everything's working as it's supposed to. And as for my personal projects, I've got about 80 things in progress
Sounds
as I
about right.
normally do.
Right.
I
As,
like
as a
this.
creator does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to skip back and forth between projects so I don't like get burnt out on any one thing.
Mhm. Yeah, it definitely works different parts of your brain to go from like working on a head sculpt to trying to troubleshoot hip articulation to, I assume,
Yes.
like you do it all. You do like the music, the video editing, graphic design, the sculpting, the painting.
Is jack of all trades, master of none. Yeah, I have my interests are all over the place. They
Mhm.
always have been, and everything becoming more and more ingrained and being able to do electronically has made it easier for me
Yeah.
to like, oh, I want to make music. Okay, here's how you can make music using loops, putting them together and clever arrangements to make something pleasing and to the
Mhm.
ears. Or especially with the sculpting, digital sculpting really opened up a whole new world for me because I have always wanted to make my own things. I've
Mhm.
tried sculpting in the past, but the way I work, the way I hold my tools and everything, it was just very difficult for me to work in a physical medium like that. So being able to do something where, oops, I screwed this up, Command
Mhm.
Z, and it's fixed, it just like that was has what I've been waiting for. And
So I'm
then
curious, what were those early days of frustration with physical media? Was that like, were you messing around with clay as a kid? Were you busting apart your
um
action figures? What did that look like?
yeah, I guess if we want to break it down to its earliest point, it would have been Frankensteining GI Joes when I was a kid, since they were so easy to
Sick.
take apart.
Yeah.
Since they're O-rings, like, oh, this one busted, I can take him apart and put this guy's legs on him. And then I
Mhm.
started like making my own figures. Like, oh, I don't have a Lone Ranger, so take a Cobra Commander top, Ripper's bottom, and a head, and put a cowboy hat on it. And I had a Lone Ranger figure. Just and that kind of progressed to whenever I got older and got into art school and started working, having disposable cash, and got
Mhm.
into the realm of six scale collecting. And that started my passion for like repainting heads.
Mhm.
And then I tried to do sculpting there with like Sculpey,
Mhm.
and to varying degrees of success. I'm there. I have so many half started Sculpey projects that just never went anywhere.
Mhm.
But and that I just mostly customizing by painting for a lot of years until the digital realm entered, and listening to Jesse Jesse's Distazapod.
Mhm.
He was talking about doing digital sculpting on Nomad on an iPad, and it's like that's simple. That doesn't require this big expensive machine. So
Mhm.
I pursued that course, and then by the time I had gotten comfortable with the sculpting, the 3D printers had become affordable, and there were like
Yeah.
90 different versions to choose from on Amazon. So
Mhm.
I took a gamble doing YouTube research and picked one out, and I've been having a blast with it. It's I never thought in a million years when I was a kid I'd be able to like make my own toys. I
No,
spent
and
it's
you've
like
gone really fast. Like I
Oh
remember
yeah.
seeing your stuff on Cults 3D. Like you were posting heads, what feels like uh maybe was that like 4 years ago? When were you posting those like Motu heads?
yeah, I started off with the origins for Masters of the Universe stuff. It
Yeah.
was probably about 3.5, 4 years ago. It was like some of the very first things I did, and just getting a hang of sculpting and getting a whole hang of how to bore out the head so that it fits on a peg.
Hmm.
That was a whole trial and error thing in and of itself. And I finally gave up to the point where now anything I do that has a ball peg head, I just give it enough space to stick some sticky tack in there.
Yeah.
Or thanks to the craftsman, watching one of his videos, I learned about this nifty two-part compound that when you
Yeah.
mix it
Yeah.
together, it turns very rubbery. So sometimes
Hmm.
I'll use some of this inside the head of a cavity, and
Hmm.
the cavity of a head, and it will perform a pretty good little gasket to hold things on.
Oh,
But
nice.
as far as whenever I started made the jump over to like, okay, I'm gonna make a whole figure now. I decided to like go with the whole neck with a peg because it
Hmm.
was just a little bit easier for me to wrap my head around
Hmm.
after dealing trying out so many different articulation schemes. I've tried many sorts of pegs, tried ball joints, everything else, and I kept coming back to, well, the glass joint, it works. So
Hmm.
I started using it and finally got to the point where it's like, all right, I can't in good conscience be like releasing this stuff. So I finally talked to Matt about it and it's like, hey, I didn't really mean these to be Glyos. It's just that this articulation is something simple that I can understand and actually make work.
Hmm.
And he was like, oh, go for it. So hearing that has like really kind of made me feel better about working with the joints that I have because yeah, it works and it does what it's supposed to. It has good tolerance
Hmm.
and yeah, it's nice to be able to like swap a Glyos part on there just to see how it looks, and that's been pretty fun too. But
Yeah, although
yeah,
it's simple, it's elegant. It's elegant in its design of
yes,
it's something that is reproducible kind of across all these different makers and then also customizers, which I
yes,
think to me is the mark of good design. Like something that's changed as I've gotten into first Jesse's like stuff through Toy Pizza and then the other Glios makers is I've come to kind of reappreciate the older vintage figures that I have of
yes,
like it doesn't always have to be like I love Acid Rain
hmm,
with sort of, the double jointed knees and like crazy articulated elbows. Or I love Gunpla and model kits with sort of all this complex mechanical engineering. But I'm it's going to be a while before I get to this point, whereas
yeah,
I can pretty much figure out how to make like a shoulder swivel or a neck
yes,
swivel.
exactly,
Hips are still sort of the hip clearances are the bane of my existence, but
yeah. That's another thing that I have enjoyed about using this system is it allows for parts library swapping.
right.
So I've like printed out parts for several different figures and like, all right, I'll use this here and this here and created new characters out of my own stuff,
Hmm.
which, all right, I can make a bunch of those and have like a weird armed guard or
Hmm.
just being able to make other things out of the library that I'm already building up has also been something that I didn't even think about in the beginning. It just sort of happened that way.
Hmm. And Brett, that's something that I feel like you are constantly surprising me with where you'll pull something from 2 or 3 years back and like, oh yeah, I
Oh,
remember
I
that.
love an archive. I love an archive. Yeah, I absolutely love having a library of stuff to pull from. And what's nice is with digital, you can take it, chop it up, blend it, get it, and it's like, oh, well, that's this guy's ankle, but he fused this part here and he's got a different knee connection. So
Exactly.
it's one of those things where it's like you can kind of see the DNA on a previous figure we've released, or even just taking a picture of it. It's like, well, now that you get it on this robot, now it's on this humanoid. So it's there's a lot of fun with that. And if you have a good eye, you can catch it. But a lot of people that don't, they'll never even know, which is
Yeah.
very fun. But as the creator, you get that sense of that being the genesis point where you get to work within all that.
Yeah, I definitely understand. Definitely in regards to hands, like trying to get the tolerance for it to hold something. It's
Hmm.
like
Oh,
one,
forget about it. Reuse them to death. Forget about it. If you got it right once, you got it right for the rest of your life.
yeah, yeah. It's like trying to get this tiny little gun in his hand was just that took work in and of itself.
Right?
Just
Well,
trying to get it
I
to where
like
hold it and hold it with a nice firm grip.
how the use of your sort of buck across your figures, it kind of gives them a aesthetic unity, sort of like you were mentioning before we started recording, like the superpowers line. They're
Yes,
doing the same thing, but it also makes them kind of look nice when they're all lined up together as a collection.
I've even got here's some here you can kind of see it's my V and my Venusian figure. They've kind
Hmm.
Oh,
of
it's so good.
they're both basically the same body. It just
Yeah.
took them a little bit different direction with the details and get two different complete figures out of them.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's awesome. Before we dig too deeply into articulation schemes, because I think that's the one everybody wants to unpack, that's the nitty gritty. When you were coming up, what were you collecting? Was it superpowers really memory hold when you were designing, or what were you playing with as a kid that got you to where you're at now?
I pretty much was a very lucky and spoiled child, so I dipped my toe into a little bit of everything growing up,
Okay,
but my mainstays were GI Joe. That was my one true love, with Star Wars a close second, and anything superhero related, be it American superheroes or Japanese superheroes.
okay,
I have been into, but as I got older, I mean, I've always been into the Marvel Legends, like pushing the articulation, Japanese import figures, pushing the
Hmm.
articulation. But as I've gotten older, as we've talked about, I started to, especially getting into the Glyos, appreciating the simpler form factors of like superpowers, and in particular like Secret Wars.
yeah,
I say the Secret Wars Captain America is my mental idea of the perfect 5 points of articulation setup. It's got that nice sort of relaxed yet ready for action pose. He's
yeah,
not he's not standing too stiff. He's not in some like, you know, I'm going surfing pose or anything. It's just a nice, and that's
yeah.
what I try to emulate. It's just something that looks like good either standing in it at attention, or if you give it just a little bit of posing, he could look like he's mid stride.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
something I
I
feel
was
like
thinking that. Well, good, Gordon.
that you really convey in your film work is sort of you expand out of the kind of implied gesture out of all these 5 points of articulation figures, like with Jesse stuff, but then your own stuff
Mm-hmm.
of I'm amazed at how much you're able to animate with the limited articulations that you're working with. Because I'm used to seeing, those obsessive videos where it's probably 100 frames to have sort of a smooth motion of, it's like
Yes.
an SHF Goku or a Kamen Rider or something.
Yeah, I've tried high end stop motion, and I've tried the lower end stop motion. I found a good middle with what I do for Jesse, and yeah, pose doing stop motion with a Glyos figure has both pluses and minuses, as especially whenever you start getting into action scenes.
Mhm.
But I find that a lot of the time I'll set up the I'll set up the scene. I'll get the two figures ready to play, and I kind of know what I want to happen. And I just sort of start a figure punching, and I'll just kind of see where it goes. Like, all right, if I got him swinging around here, what seems obvious for this figure to do? It's like, all right, raise this arm to block. So I kind of let the figures
Mhm.
tell me where they need to be when they're attacking each other. And what I can't do that way, I just green screen, and I do everything on my phone, so it's all done in CapCut.
Oh, wow.
And
That is
because
miraculous.
well, CapCut has one of the most robust green screen features I've seen in a mobile app. So that was one of the things that drew me to it, and it has a lot of effects that you can use as you've seen if you've seen any of my videos.
Hmm.
Oh yeah.
Uh, it's a great all-in-one tool, so I've been very happy using that. But being able to do keyframes has helped me greatly since my early days of doing action figure of the month to now. I know so much more, and it's like each video I take what I learned in the last one and apply it and make it just like infinitesimally better.
Right. Well, and that's,
But
I feel like that's common across any sort of creative thing that you're doing, be it, sculpting an action figure, working from how do I make a custom head fit on a figure to, okay, I remember buying your boots from you, the boot pack for the Knights of the Slice. And then, now I have this like skeleton pirate and I'm like, I know that boot. I remember
yes,
buying that.
yes. And that's actually what started this whole thing was I wanted some new boots for the Star Marshal. It's
Yep.
like I was like wanted different like adventure scenario boots that I could swap out. And then it turned into, all right, well, I'll make some legs. And then it's like, all right, okay, I'll make some arms. And then it was a head. And
Mhm.
it's like, all right, hell with it. I'm going to try torso. And it took a lot of fine tuning, but I finally got there. And I've been having a blast. Just totally having a blast.
Yeah. And I think to people starting out, like it's good to know that like working your way up to the crazy stuff that you see other people doing is sort of that's going to get you there better than kind of bashing your head against a
Yeah.
wall trying to, come out with a full figure right out of
Yeah.
the gate.
And I cannot stress enough Southern GFX on YouTube. I have learned so much watching his videos, particularly for nomad sculpting. He
Oh, very
does
cool.
ZBrush as well, but yeah, pretty much watching his videos and listening to Jesse kind of prompted my whole 3D journey.
Hmm.
Yeah, and you've been doing some serious work. I mean, you did Derek's first non-magnetic figure. You're doing the reaver position, and then when you were, I will unveil it a little bit, but you started taking a role at some TPU inserts for figures now, so you'll be able to actually pop and
Yes,
swap resin, which is really
yes,
cool.
yeah, yeah. I'm very interested in that because with the figures that I've been producing, I had never really intended them to be Glyos compatible. It was
Right.
just sort of happenstance of the articulation. But now that I've found that you guys have shown a way to do it, that makes it easier. So you don't have to like sit there with a hair dryer for
Oh
like
yeah, that you can just take
40
them.
seconds heating it up and just pop it right in. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's got my mind going through some different scenarios than I would have ever thought of.
Yeah, and did you have any trouble getting that to adapt to any of the figures you've used it on, or not? Or was it pretty simple?
The peg
The-
system.
yeah,
Um, Whenever I started off, uh, what was it that I used? Oh, like I said, I'm terrible at measurements. So
yeah.
taking just a little Glyos peg up to a ruler and just kind of like eyeballing it next to my computer and just trying it. And I did three different sizes, like kind of a
Okay,
smaller version and a larger version of the one in the middle. The one in the middle, I tried in the Glyos figure and it popped in perfectly. So I was like, all right, I guess that's
good
the one
enough.
I'm going with.
Oh,
So
wow.
Nice.
I've it's like it took a little bit of finessing, but that I actually solved more quickly than getting the inset joint to work.
Right.
That required finding the correct resin to use at
Okay.
for what I've been doing.
Mhm.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to running off some of those TPU sets. And once I get those into the physical world, I've had my printer, it hasn't done anything that I should have ran some off in preparation for this to show you, but that didn't pan out. But yeah, I'm gonna run some tonight. Hopefully I'll be able to have feedback for everybody tomorrow on how they work. But I'm really looking forward to seeing how those work.
Awesome. Yeah, me too.
It's
Yeah,
interesting
that,
seeing those, like what it reminds me of is like the polycaps that they use in Gundam kits.
Yeah, that's
Um,
exactly what they're like.
and
It's
for some
just for
reason, like I
glass.
I wouldn't have thought to use that in 3D printed figures, but then, you know, seeing Desktop Vandals use it, seeing sort of other makers use that sort of solution, I'm like, of course.
Yeah,
People
and
have been
it's
doing
been here
this
the whole time, and
right.
like,
Yeah.
and my goofy ass was coming up with these inset disc joints that were made out of TPU, which are like extremely playable, but it was like
Mhm.
I'm so locked and pigeonholed into one form factor where it's like, oh my God, we could have been doing this for years.
But I think that's, you know, that's again where the internet is vast. And so like there are resources out there, but it's also important to like find other communities and like people that you can actually kind of knock ideas back and forth with. So that you can kind of say, you know, this is working out for me and like here it
Oh
is. You
yeah.
can use it for your
Oh yeah,
projects too.
and like the idea of doing polycap figures and stuff. I mean, that never would have happened if it wasn't for exploring stuff with like disc hinged
Right.
toes or wrists and stuff. Like I wouldn't have the appreciation for that tight finesse measurement of doing a polycap ball joint or
Mhm.
glyos peg
Yeah.
that I do from doing stuff like this.
Well, and Kenneth, to your point about not liking to measure, I very much feel that. And so Brett's introduction of the flexible like disc hinge joints for me was great because like I didn't have to deal with a fractional millimeter tolerance of the resin sort of cylinder going into a socket because if
Yeah.
it was like a millimeter off, I just like push harder and just
Yeah.
jam it in there,
Yeah.
and that gives you a little bit of resistance in the joint.
Yeah. With the peg setup that I came up with, I have like a master file with the one peg on it, and I have it color coded. So it's like, all right, the white area of the peg sinks into the body up until the top of it's green. So I know if
Okay.
exactly how far to put it in so that I'll have the exact measurement that I need for it to work with everything else.
Mhm.
Awesome. Yeah, I love having a master cast. I call it a master cast. I'm sure there's a better term for it. But anytime I'm doing new joint placements on my stuff, there's always I have like the measurement key of all my different all of my figure joints. And it's like, oh, I'll pull this one. And every time I open a new design file in Tinkercad, I go into that control C, copy all of it, and then import it in. And it's like, okay, here's all the tools to pull from.
Yeah. I've been amazingly lucky using my weird ass method, which is I have a box that I've made that's pretty much 4 inches. I'll bring that in there, and any sort of head that I'm working on to make sure I get it in scale right. I'll pull a head off of a toy pizza figure and just kind of sit there and eyeball it and
Yeah.
shrink it down in relation to the 4 inch square until I get it till about looks right. And 95% of the time, it's within the right size of what it needs to be.
That's exactly what I do is I just keep piles of action figures near my monitor and just
Yes.
like, hold it
Quick
up.
reference.
And so if I have, if I have one part already in there that's, as you said, like the masterpiece that I know what the relational scale is, I can say, okay, if that's an 8 millimeter piece in Blender, like how many of those makes up a forearm or a foot or something on this when I
Yeah.
actually am here in physical space with my ruler measuring off a figure. And speaking of physical figures, actually, I pulled some pieces from my library. This head in silver, sort of wearing a ski mask, that's your head, Kenneth, that you sculpted and was
Yes.
factory tooled. And then this is the scarf piece that I did for Jesse, which is also shared DNA with the cursed armor. If you ever take a look at it, that's the green scarf on this figure.
I'd never noticed that before. I've got one
Yeah,
right there, and I like
yeah.
look at it every day and never noticed.
It's a little secret crossover there.
Yeah, one day, one of my sculpts will end up in China factory tooling. One
Mhm.
day.
Well, and
Well,
maybe sooner than that, it ends up in a video.
Come again?
I said it may be sooner than that, it ends up in a video.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
so I'm curious. You mentioned, Kenneth, you mentioned sort of your history with collecting, but how did you come across Glios? Was it through Toy Pizza or?
Originally, I learned about it way back in the day. I think it was Millionaire Playboy's website.
Hmm.
I saw a Glios article and kind of got into Glios. Like I saw like the same figure in many different colors, and my brain just kind of like, ooh, shiny.
Hmm.
So I got into Glios first and collected a few of those, and wound up going on a road trip to Tennessee. And this was back when Hastings was going out of business, and I had just discovered Hastings back at my home, so I
Hmm.
was kind of like heartbroken. But I was traveling with my wife, and I found one that was near where we were staying in Tennessee. So I took a jaunt over there while she was working, and they had one of the display setups with the blind bag original Knights of the Slice figures in it.
Hmm.
Oh
And
wow.
I saw the Kickstarter when it came about, but when I first came across it, it was before they decided to go with the Glios joints, and they didn't have leg articulation or anything. It's like, oh, that's funny. They look like Power Rangers. That's cool. If they
Hmm.
had more articulation, I might have
Yeah.
gotten into them. And I learned after the fact that they had. So when I saw them in Hastings, I was like, all right, I'll take a chance. And I grabbed it, and it was a Lime Knight. And yeah, after playing around with it, that I got on Jesse's site when we got back home, and I got the green translucent Rift Killer Rex.
Oh yeah.
Oh, what a
And
start.
yeah, whenever I saw that, I was like, all right, I'm sold. And then when
Hmm.
Action Figure of the Month came around, and I saw that there was a Rift Killer in Talder colors, I was like, all
Yeah.
right, I'm in.
No, it was the Metalder colorway for the Rift Killer and then the Device Ninja were the two that did it for me. I'm like, okay, I'm all in.
Yeah. Yeah, when I started to see like where his influences were coming from, I was like, all right, I'm on the same page
Mhm.
here.
Well, and it's fun because I also have been introduced to a lot of stuff that like I remember seeing in like KB Toys or something, and I'm like, I'm not here for that. I'm buying a Transformer.
Yeah,
That's cool and all, but like I only got $10. Um,
yeah,
so it's cool to both see the videos and the posts that he puts out about that, but then also like find out from people like you or Brett. I was neither a big G.I. Joe guy or a Star Wars guy. And it's only sort of coming to those later that I start to see the shared DNA with all the stuff that I was into.
yeah, yeah. I'm definitely of an age. I was 5 when the first Star Wars came out, and that's like
Oh,
one of my
wow.
first memories is
Oh,
seeing it at
yeah.
the drive-in.
Yeah.
Holy
So
smokes.
yeah,
Holy smoke. Yeah, you were there for the true genesis point of greatness there.
Mhm.
yeah. Everything that's wrong with Generation X applies to me. So
That's funny. What so here like this, Gordon's not really gonna appreciate this question too much, but like when you were a kid, were you like a Luke Skywalker kid or were you a Han Solo kid?
oh, I was totally into Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I am. Whenever I saw my hero die on the big screen, I
Yeah.
was furious.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
I could not handle that.
No, I was
It's like
yeah, that sucked
you
ass.
should never have to watch your heroes die. That sucked.
Yeah, like I'm good for like a good valiant effort, like the like the I always think back to like what's a great heroic death that you agree with for a character you like Billy and Predator.
Yeah,
That's a great
yeah.
one. Like,
He went out like a badass.
yeah, like what a sick way to die. That's super
Yeah,
cool. Luke Skywalker didn't go out that way. That sucks. A little bit of redemption in season 2 of The Mandalorian, pretty great.
yes.
And with one of the greatest Twitter posts of all time from Mark Hamill of the day of that airing is, you guys see anything good on TV lately?
Oh
Like
man,
what an
yeah.
incredible tweet.
I
But
was one of those fools crying like an idiot whenever I saw that green lightsaber.
oh, you and me both, brother. I was like, oh, I was so vindicated.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's everything we wanted for years.
Yep. Just that one moment encapsulated everything that I was
No,
wanting.
well, and like I'm sure you were reading those expanded universe novels as they were coming out. Like
Yeah.
I was like a very wee babe when some of those were out, and like I remember seeing like I have a brother 12 years older than me. So growing up, he would have like Heir to the Empire and like all these Timothy Zahn novels. And I'm like, what
Yeah,
is this? Like, who's this blue dude? So
yeah.
in later years, I would read these and I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. And then we get what we got. And I was like, we had
Like
absolute cinema in
what?
a, like, what are we doing here? So yeah, so we finally did see the brief snippet of everything I read Luke could do, in
Yeah,
like a 10-minute clip, which was, hey, good enough for me. We're good. But no, that's awesome to hear because growing up, my brother was always like the Han Solo guy. He's like,
yeah,
like Luke's a pussy. All he does is whine. And like me, like I'm like the do gooder brother. Like, no, he's a hero.
yeah, yeah. My friends were all Han Solo guys, but yeah, I've always like the main heroes always been the draw to me. I'm the Flash Gordon, Buck Rogers,
Oh, heck yeah.
that speed.
Yeah, lawful good. Yeah, you and I are the paladins of the RPG. Right. Right.
Totally.
Chaotic evil, yeah. Bad guys forever. So kind of do you still have like any of your old childhood like counter Star Wars stuff, or have you had to go back and kind of refill that in as time
I
has passed?
I still have a few things. I still have my original Chewbacca, which
Oh
I
wow.
I remember vividly the day my mother brought me and my brother two figures each. She got him, Darth Vader and a Stormtrooper, and I got Luke and Chewbacca. And I still have
Good
that
deal.
Chewbacca to
Yeah.
this day.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, but
I'm sure that was an excellent play day for you and
yeah,
your brother.
oh totally. On top of the hamster cage. But yeah, I still have a few of the original figures, but I like many others bought way heavily into the Power of the Force
Mhm.
2 whenever it came out in 95. So I've like there up until I would say about episode 3 I finally started to like wane off a little bit on the have
Yeah.
to have every single thing that they release,
Mhm.
because once you have version 857 of Han Solo, it's like, all right, I'm done.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I get it. It's funny. We've been going through like an illness this week at my house. Like the plague set upon us. Like you
Oh
will not
no.
go trick or treating with your 3-year-old this week, but we're all on the mend now. But my little boy, he was sick, and he knows like I have all the Power of the Force 2 stuff up in the attic. So if we're like stir crazy, I'll go up and fish one out, and he gets to open it. So he opened up a bunch of stuff from Phantom Menace and Power of the Force while
Awesome.
he's been sick. But it's like, yeah, this thing's been on card for like almost 30 years, and they come out and they're perfect, totally playable. They're
Yeah,
not gross. Like whatever plastic they were using back then is just incredible. So, and to him, he doesn't know any better.
yeah,
It's a kid appreciating a toy for what it should be, a toy. And
yeah.
unfortunately, Star Wars isn't that way anymore for toys, which sucks. But the
Although
Epic
That's
Hero stuff is. I like that a lot.
yeah. I've really, especially since they've started adding knees to the Epic Heroes,
Oh yeah.
that's kind of become my go-to 4-inch
Oh, I love it.
fix.
That Mandalorian is perfect. They put out with the
Yeah,
dark suit, and like I love here's the new Anakin saber with Gordon's Goblin. It's just it's so good. I love it. I love the crazy staticky lightsabers. Like they're a little overdone. They're kind of goofy, but I do like them.
yeah.
It's something different.
I love that green that Goblin is in. That green is just tickles my brain.
Oh, it's good stuff, man. Yeah, Gordon's got an eye for color choice for his filament. The problem is I buy like 30 colors by the time Gordon picks one.
well
So
yeah, and that's
Gordon's
just
choices are smart. Mine are like, oh, I like this, this, and this.
I
Yeah,
mean, that's working within the constraints that I have, and I feel like that's a big part of what influences your your stylistic choices. Like the reason that I do my weird colored marker drawings the way I do is just I use cheap Crayola like washable markers,
Mhm.
and so if they like run up to against each other, they kind of bleed together in like not a great looking way. Versus like if I wasn't cheap, I would go and buy like the nice Prismacolor alcohol markers that like
Right.
blend really nice
yeah.
and professional illustrators. But I'm like, nope, just gonna buy a $10 pack of like 50 markers, and then so that I do the mechanical pencil like underdrawing and then color in between the lines and then erase that out. And so that's why I have that sort of weird
That's
reverse
why
line
I
style.
love it though. It looks like stained glass to me, and I
Yeah.
love that. I think it's so cool looking.
Yeah, but it's just working within the constraints, and like the reason that I paint my figures is I don't have enough room to store lots of colored
Yeah.
different filament.
Yep.
And I still have bunches of old Warhammer paint from, doing miniatures and stuff. So like just grabbing whatever's available is something that like I have found actually is like a useful thing to kind of pull into creative stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's the philosophy I have behind my videos is I take the Ed Wood method, like whatever it takes to get the story across. It's
Hmm.
like if I have to like hold something by its feet off camera to
Yeah.
get a certain
Yep.
effect, that's how I'm doing it.
Hmm.
Yeah. While we're on that topic, how did you get into stop motion, Kenneth? Because I mean, you've been doing the action figure stuff for a good spit now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had always wanted to try it out, and as I have a prehistoric laptop that my wife bought me as a gift many years ago, and she gave me like a film editing software and music production software, all these things to like keep my creative brain occupied. And I started playing with the movie editing and trying to do stop motion because it was something I always wanted to try. I started with 6 scale first because
Okay.
it seemed to be the easiest to work with. And I made a couple of videos doing that. But as far as the small scale stuff, I had always been toying around with the idea of doing small scale because it allows for greater set creation
Right.
within the
Right.
limited confine.
Yeah, it's
And
it's it's the world building scale.
so kind of the first one I wanted to do, I used the Thousand Toys version of the Knights figures and just did like a little 13-second demo doing like a Power Ranger sort of pose off
Hmm.
thing and ending like that. A couple of months later, through Action Figure of the Month, I got the Reed Schweizer figure.
Mm.
And I just had this light bulb went off in my head. I wanted to make a little short action video and just have it end with the word Schweizer in gigantic letters at the end of it. I don't know why I just thought that would be hysterical. So I made this video and put it out there, and Jesse somehow saw it and contacted me and was like, "Hey, would you like to work on a video for me?" And I was like, "Yes, please. That sounds awesome." And that kind of like blossomed into a whole thing and doing the Action Figure of the Month videos, which has been one of the most awesome jobs I've ever had.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They're awesome to see. Like it's one of almost more than getting the toys at this point. Like, seeing the videos, seeing whoever's doing like the illustration art for the month or whatever, seeing like who amongst the community is kind of be pulled in as like the pitch hitter
Yes.
is really cool to see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great. I mean, we're getting to tune into like our favorite episode of this season's show. Like, and it's like our friend Kenneth's doing it. It's so sick, man. I love it.
Yeah, it's been a real honor, like having Jesse bring me into work on these videos. Both he and Matt have been very supportive of me doing this, and just like the playground that they've given me to work in. And Jesse is like he'll say, "Here's the figures. Here's what I want him to do," and then he pretty much lets me have reign with it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And just being able to tell a story and entertain people, that's been something that's been very important to me. It's like I like watching people watch stuff and smiling and being happy, and
Hmm.
that makes me happy. So knowing that there's an audience out there for this stuff, and he's given me an avenue to like, hey, check this out. Here's the neat little story we came up with. I've really just been, I don't know, super lucky and just totally happy with the situation.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, I'm pretty sure I speak on behalf of everybody in Action Figure of the Month Club, or even just like the Squires as a whole. When we get those and we see those, we're always like, yeah, like I can't wait to download that video and check it out. Like I'm immediately like taking my break, or like if it's early in the morning and if someone posts this before I get my package, I'm like, all right, I'll go into the bathroom and watch this, like uninterrupted at work. Like I got to check this out. Yeah, I always think back to my favorite one. It's probably Gator Guerra whenever it's him and I forget the bug, it was the Cybug girl, but yeah, that was a great one, like the beachhead attack of them, and like I love the little doll's voice. It's just so good, and
Thanks.
the green screen effect you did with like the beachfront and the city and everything, I just love that one so much.
Yeah, that's lots of compiling assets using various apps on my phone, Wordle, like to give them a little bit of life, to try and like have the background
Oh
be
yeah.
something a little more than just static. But yeah, the green screen has probably been the greatest asset for my stop motion making, because it makes life a lot easier. Like especially having stuff flying in the air, you just like lay down your green sheet on the table, and then you can lay your figures on the table and just move them around like
Mhm.
shooting downwards, and get the same effects as these like big high end rigs where you have to drill into the back of your figure. And
Right.
it's
Mhm.
like I try to do everything as simply and quickly as I can.
No, and to me, that comes across as sort of more genuine, which is sort of the entire maker ethos. It's like very deep. I mean, we're the DIY toy cast. Like, it's sort of punk rock. It's sort of, a little rough around the edges. But to me, that speaks to the enthusiasm that we're all putting into this stuff of like, we all grew up around this stuff and, love it deeply. And that
Yeah.
kind of, we want to reflect that back to people. And so, you know, I, I feel like I maybe put a little too little polish on some of the stuff that I put out there because I'm so excited to be like, oh, this it's off the printer. I'm just
You
gonna
want to share it.
write. But seeing it's nice to see other makers have similar amounts of enthusiasm just to get the idea out there and show other people.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had many times where I'm working on something. It's like, all right, I'm going to wait till it's done. And it's like, oh, here's an arm on a gator peg photo. Here's a head on a
Oh,
gator peg
oh, you're
photo. It's like,
preaching to the
I
choir.
can't wait. It's like, here's my entire process before showing you the thing I was going to wait to show you.
Yep. Absolutely. I'm so guilty of that. I'm like, oh, you know what? Here's a digital sculpt that's not even going to be done for 3 days, but here's the new figure, and be ready for that.
Mhm. No, and that stuff is so great if, it's so great to be a maker and a fan and sort of be able to be privy to other people's process as you're both excited to kind of receive whatever they're going to make, but then
Yeah.
also working on your own stuff. And I feel like that's a generosity that extends even to like the the formal makers within the Glio space. Of they're very generous and sort of forthcoming with all their ideas and process. And so it's great to kind of scroll back through Matt's blog or go through Jesse's Patreon, back to some post that he made like 2 or 3 years ago because you're like, I remember him talking about something and then wanting to use it for a project that you're working on.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed being in this community. It's really felt to me like it did back when I was in art school. It's like you're finally surrounded by a group of people that are there with like mind and similar intentions, and the vibe is just so awesome. And that we can bounce ideas off each other, and people say, oh, well, how about this? And it's like, holy crap, I didn't even think of that. We're leading each other down these creative paths.
Mhm.
And it's been spectacular to just like see everything go from these little known things to now we're bringing in the Legions crowd, and it's like, holy crap, that's like a whole new set of blood putting
Mhm.
eyes on these things, and hopefully we'll keep these creators healthy and alive so that they can keep producing this art, which we love.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We're all pretty fresh on the heels of the newest wave of fulfillment from Onell Design with the Cosmic Legions, or I'm sorry, Infinite Legions crossover 4-inch scale stuff.
Mhm.
And we're all big 4-inch heads here, and I'm a huge fan of what Matt put out. And for him to rerun that wave on a pre-order because there was so much demand, I mean, it's unheard of. I mean, I've been
Mhm.
following Glios for about 5 years now, and I have never seen him run a pre-order for like that ever. So
Yeah.
I
I,
really hope we see more of this stuff come through.
yes.
And I didn't have any trouble getting what I needed, but in the event I did, there was an option, which
Yeah.
is really nice
Yeah.
because there's been times that option wasn't there.
Yeah.
So, and I don't really collect much 6-inch stuff. I'm very appointment only. I like a special occasion piece, but I don't have a lot of room. And they look nice. They're expensive. I have a 3-year-old, so therefore he has to handle everything. And good God, I couldn't give him a mythic leech. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So, but I can give him this fade in. And when these came home, me and him had a blast playing with him and anti fade in and the new Sarvos. Like it was just so much fun because he can beat around a PVC figure and we don't have to
yeah.
worry about destruction. But I'm really, really, really dying to see what comes after this. Like what's next for this. And I'm hoping because this is a 4 inch, we see more people be like, oh, what's this toy pizza thing all about? Like I hope we see more
Totally.
people get into Goss armor and get into what Jesse's up to because I love Onell stuff very much, but Toy Pizza, Jesse's always going to be my favorite. Like everything he puts out is just so nuts, and it's
Yeah.
so fun. And like we all get to play a hand in it. All three of us had projects, and like I gotta do a claw for a Rift Killer, my favorite mold. Like how insane is that? Like
Yes.
a dream come true.
Yeah, I that unfortunate for me that my two favorite figures are his most expensive molds, both the Gauss and the Cray. It's like I'm like,
Yeah,
how can we
and,
get more of this?
and not worth noting, you are a named character on the Cray body, which is
Yes,
outstanding.
Right.
that was such an incredible honor when he reached out and like was like, "Hey, can I name this character after you?" I was like, "Please." Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm definitely a gigantic pirate maniac, so him naming that character after me just it meant a whole lot to me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm the other first mate, but that was through like odd happenstance and a spelling miscorrection. So that was very funny. But yours is much better. You have much better articulation and a story. Mine was just a guy that was shirtless and very tan. But no,
So was
it's
that part of the inspiration for that? Like you did an entire separate sort of film series of just the pirate character,
Yeah,
right?
since he kind of named it after me, and I haven't really seen much in the way of backstory, I was like, well, I'm going to fill it out. So I decided to start doing little off adventures, which I hope to get back to at some point.
Mhm.
But yeah, doing little pirate adventures, going back to that whole Sinbad the sailor kind of thing.
yeah.
Mhm.
That's totally what I want to do with that. I've got a like tons of plot going out, going down to seeing the naval deep, coming back up. I want to interweave as much of his stuff in as possible while kind of like carrying this ancillary story that's like way down here from his timeline.
Well, and that's
Yeah.
what's so great about, both Jesse's sort of story spaces and Matt's and a lot of the other makers is there's so much open space for like any
To
of us
give it a
to come
room, yeah.
in. Yeah. And that would actually be something interesting that to talk to the two of you about is like how do you approach you know, figure design uh when sort of coupling it with narrative? Like for me, the Cursed Armor was a abandoned D&D character that I had, which I had like a character sheet written up for. And then I reworked the visual design. And then I'm like I've typed out a little blurb about it, but mostly I don't tell people about any of the narrative. Like that's for me. And
Mm-hmm.
then I would prefer people take the figure and sort of draw the narrative out of the sculptor design and like make up their own story with it. How do so kind of like how do you approach that when you're thinking about your characters?
Um, in particular, with the one that I've been pushing so hard with lately, my Major Tom character, I had always wanted just like a simple, generic kind of spaceman figure, something that reminded me of the old Timmy
Mhm.
little plastic army men space guys
Oh yeah.
from my childhood, just the classic silver suit. So I developed him, kind of updated a little bit, and I had this like funny idea in my head. It's like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if he was Major Tom Morrow, Major Tom, and then
Mhm.
he fights the Spider-Man from Mars. Like I
Yeah.
just kept getting going on this David Bowie riff with everything, and it just kind of spilled out from there and turned into its own little thing. So now I'm developing this idea that Major Tom's part of like the Galactic Space Patrol or what
Mhm.
have you, and he will be encountering different planets, have different alien species. So whenever he goes to Mars, he's going to encounter the Spider-Man and have
Mhm.
adventures with different kinds of spider people there. Then he goes to Venus. I had the Venusian. There's going to be different kinds of Venusians, and so I've kind of set myself up to where I can have different stories based around the different planets and be able to create different characters to fit in those environments.
Mhm.
So it's given me kind of an open-ended trail to go down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's sort of like a scaffold that you can kind of fill in wherever you want.
Yeah, I can take it whichever way I need to. But yeah, it basically started off as a joke. I just thought using David Bowie lyrics would be hysterical for character
I
names.
mean, that's a lot of where the best ideas of both Brett and I come from. It's just
Oh
dumb
yeah.
ideas.
Yeah, dumb ideas are good, Genesis. I did want to say I really appreciate that you were going for the 1950s pulp sci-fi aesthetic because
Yes.
it is so abandoned.
Yeah.
I love Star Wars. I love it. Like I'm a Jedi Knight through and through. Like that's what I always wanted to be when I grew up.
Mhm.
But when that came on the scene, everything 1950s pulp adventure sci-fi became so lame and irrehensible. Like you couldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah.
And like my dad never got into sci-fi, but my mom grew up on original Star Trek. And she always
Yeah.
talked about how much she loved watching that as a kid in the 60s, like when she was a teenager. She was born in the early 50s on a farm. So like watching Star Trek when she got into college was like this insane thing to her in black and white, of course.
Yeah.
But so I've always had an affinity for this old 50s like sci-fi pulp stuff. And I love a lot of the old comics. So seeing you take that and shepherd into a new era, because I can't think of anyone doing anything like that other than like outer spacemen, you know,
Yeah.
with
Well, Brett, you
Glyos,
you bring in a little bit of that atomic age stuff with some of your
with
mech
my
and droid
robots.
designs, I
Yeah,
feel
yeah,
like.
like yeah, I do. And I like some simplicity in a robot. That's definitely informed in like blocks or like the pup droid, like goofy little aesthetics that will toddle around and
Mhm.
that aren't exactly like an IG-88 death machine,
Mhm. Well,
But
I
that's just
remember
me.
when you first showed me the Bloxor, I think I messaged you about those robots from the old Max Fleischer Superman
Yeah,
cartoon.
absolutely,
Like that sort of
absolutely.
reminded me a lot of all you really need is the silhouette and then the big like clamp hands.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's a robot.
Yeah, I really need to bring back the clamp hands for some stuff. But yeah, I mean that whole the 1950s aesthetic and seeing Kenneth's stuff at Toy Pizza Con whenever we had met 2 years ago. That was the big influence on me doing my first Bloxor run in that chrome color. It was like these have to be 50 sci-fi
Mhm.
Awesome.
because I was so hot on Kenneth's stuff. It was like I couldn't fucking believe what he was doing. Like, oh my God, like this is the 50 spaceman of my dreams. He did it. So
Yeah,
when I
that was definitely my parents' influence growing up. My dad in particular used to regale me with stories of being dropped off at the theater with 25 cents and seeing like two cartoons, three cereals, a movie, and getting a hot dog and a Coke for 25 cents. But talking about like Spy Smasher and the old Buck Rogers and
oh my
Flash
God.
Gordon. So
This
yeah,
sounds like a perfect
I've,
holiday with your friends. Like I would
yeah.
kill for this day. I'd pay $2,500 for this.
But yeah, I've always loved that aesthetic and like the 1950s Japanese futurism, that
Yeah.
stuff, and like
Mhm. Yeah.
Sky Captain things that own to that 1940s kind of Mike Max Fleischer look.
Mhm.
I've been all over ray guns, that sort of thing. That's I just love that stuff.
Yeah,
It's
and I
interesting.
see some Rocketeer behind you, so like I know you're
Yes,
you're
you
big
do.
into that, and I am too. But yeah, I
Yes.
think that's definitely informed some of your sensibilities with the jetpack designs too, which I
Oh,
love.
definitely. Yeah. Jetpacks. I love jetpacks. Jetpacks, bubble helmets.
Yep.
Mhm.
Those are the two biggies for me.
That would be something that I would love to figure out a good way to do is a good like translucent 3D printed bubble helmet. I know we get pretty good results of using the like translucent resin and then putting the Duraclear gloss over it to kind of
Yep.
eliminate the layer lines.
Yeah.
Yep. And
Um,
you get a really nice, you really do get a glass effect. I mean, it is translucent. I've done it for
mhm.
ages. Duraclear is not sponsoring this podcast, but I
We'll
talk
keep
about it
we'll
all
keep
the
plugging it.
time. Yeah, Yeah, I'm not sponsored by Duraclear or Michael's Craft Stores, but feel free to use my coupon code to check it out.
Yes, I need some Duraclear. I also need some of the spray paint you were recently talking about,
Oh,
the
the
in the gold.
Montana
Montana
Gold.
Gold.
Yeah.
Montana
Yes,
Gold is where it's
yes.
at. It's good stuff. It's really nice. I will tell you, it has a very different caustic chemical smell that I've not encountered ever. And I'm around chemicals a lot in the lab. So that stuff is potent. So be
Well, I
outside, well
yeah,
ventilated, but
yeah. I usually spray outside, but
yeah.
definitely I've been looking for some neons that actually work.
Yeah, I've done a few. Um, I've noticed with it, temperature can be a little fiddly, and it's real. You really got to shake it. But what I noticed the craziest thing is if you get too close, you can get almost a matte powder effect, and if you come
Mhm.
back too far, it's almost too glossy. So you
Gotcha.
can get different textures out of one can, which is really weird. But
Mhm.
I know a lot of graffiti guys love using it for that reason because you can get these different textures and like type of warble effect on the paint.
Yeah.
So I mean, try it out. It can be a little
Mhm.
expensive, but I always get a Michael's coupon all the time. I'm a craft club member, so that's what I use them on, and they work.
Yeah.
So
It's most of the figures I do. I start off with a base coat of Rust-Oleum
yep.
paint and prime. So it's like almost all of my figures start their life. It's like this, the original Major Tom, that's straight silver out of the can.
Oh, it's
All I did,
beautiful.
yeah, all I did was paint the facial details and all of the little bits and bobs on the armor, but the rest of that is just straight out of the can with some shellac over it.
Yeah.
And so do you just brush on your paints or are you using an airbrush for anything?
I do have an airbrush that I break out on occasion, but I find airbrushing so finicky and
Hmm.
a bit frustrating. I like to do things mostly with spray paint, so I'll spray paint them and then go back in with brush details.
Hmm.
But there are a few things that I want to try to do airbrush on. I've just not really worked up the nerve to clean off my airbrush and try it.
So for example, like this Ghost Pirate that you did, was that just like a black undercoat and then you like blasted the green from over
Yeah,
top
pretty
to
much
kind of
from
catch
the
the
top.
detail?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then went back and painted the boots and all the hat and everything afterwards.
Hmm. No, I recently tried doing that with like one of my live horse sculpts because I was thinking, oh, like dollar store dinos or like the old Imperial Godzillas, where it's just like black plastic,
Yeah,
and then someone came
yeah,
with like a single color over it. They look great.
yeah. I've found that it took me a while to get used to. All right, you're not going to see it all perfectly on the first pass. You got to do it a
Hmm.
couple of times. I kept trying to just like blast everything.
Yeah.
When I first started, it's like no finesse, which is something I have trouble with sometimes.
Hmm. But like, I feel like screwing up is an important part of doing
Yeah.
anything in this hobby. Is like you got to make a bunch of bad stuff before you get to the choice pieces.
Speaking of bubble helmets, I pulled this guy out from back in my 6 scale days.
Oh,
This is
let's
how long
go.
this is how long I've been making spacemen.
Oh, that's awesome. That's so good. Yeah,
So
you need to get him struck down to the 4 inch scale.
yeah.
Or you could just come up with some contrived plot where, Faden goes through some warp gate and ends up as a Lilliputian style dude.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I definitely still have the plan of running like the Major Toms and the Arachnos in different colorways. I've had surprisingly more uh, commission work than I would have ever suspected
That's
recently.
awesome.
Yeah, well,
I mean,
congratulations. You
as
deserve
you
it.
should. Like your skill level is great, and I feel like you have so much kind of creative history to pull from. It's great to have you as sort of one of the elder wizards of the community.
Oh yeah.
But thank you.
Oh
Thank you. I
yeah,
got the
believe me,
pointy
get
hat and everything.
yeah, but yeah, we're gonna well, after you do my figure, because that's coming, Kenneth, you have to do a robot for me. It has to happen. Then you can get the big star on top of that too.
Awesome. I'll work my way up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been both very awesome, exciting, intimidating, and humbling to have
Mhm.
people come to me and say, "Hey, will you work on this for me?" It's like, yeah, I love to. I just hope what I make you like.
Yeah.
That's always the thing. But so far, everyone's been very keen on what I put out. So I'm like, awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
rules.
that Sidewinder you did for Derek is killer.
And that's the other thing, like that Manta Force I'd never heard of before he brought it up with me. And it's like, here's a figure I never knew I wanted.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got to work on something, and now I'm like gonna buy his. I'm gonna make my own. Just like,
Well, and it's so cool because I mean that like that feels like that is just straight adjacent. Like that is just some alien goon squad that Tom, like Lieutenant Tom is gonna fight.
Mhm.
yeah,
Or Major
yeah,
Tom rather. Like that's they're just like they're gonna roll up with a bunch of like space AK-47s.
totally.
Awesome. Well, we've been going for a good hour or so. So do we want to, I don't know, wrap things up? Is there anything else that you wanted to hit, Brett?
No, not that I can think of. I think we tackled a lot. Kenneth,
Awesome.
do you have anything you want to go over? Anything you want to plug? Anything you got coming up?
Um, I'd say just keep watching my Instagram. I try to post updates on things as they come out. I have things in progress that I plan on painting and making packaging for and dropping on my Instagram account at some point in the future. So if you're into spacemen, bugmen, uh, barely disguised homage figures, space wrestlers, I have more ideas than I have time to make them, but they
Right.
will all be coming out eventually.
Awesome. And so we'll make sure to put your Instagram, your YouTube, anything. You have a SoundCloud too, right? So I'll
I
Oh
go,
my
do.
God, how did we not bring that up? Yeah,
yeah.
our dear friend Kenneth here just released an incredible homage to the Tron soundtrack. It should have been the hidden track on the newest Nine Inch Nails album for Aries. So yeah,
Yeah, I was definitely inspired. I'm a gigantic Tron nerd, and yeah, both the Daft Punk and the Nine Inch Nails soundtracks were have been huge influences
yeah,
on me musically.
Mhm.
yeah. That new track you put out was beautiful. I mean, it was
Thank
really
you,
good stuff. It was on repeat at the lab 2 days
thank you.
ago. So
I appreciate
yeah,
that.
I was feeling really crummy at work, and I saw that on the Discord, and I was like, this will get me through the day. It was good stuff.
Thanks, I
Yeah, man, you're
appreciate that.
welcome. You're welcome.
So, so as far as plugs go, Brett, like I guess we can plug your Super 7 affiliate link again.
Yeah, get us those sales folks. Let me get you some discounts. I'm you can find me at Brett Barnacle at Aegis Station on Instagram and aegisbazaar.bigcartel.com. And you can find me at super7.com/Aegis Station, all one word. You get me a little bit of cash on every sale, and the more sales I make, the sooner I can start offering people discounts when they check out using my code. So thanks as always. Gordon, where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me, Vladimir the Batamir, on Instagram. You can find me here on YouTube. We're watching this right now. And I also want to plug, check out all the Glios makers. We're, I guess, 2 weeks before Legion's Con, right?
I think next week is Legion's
Next.
Con.
Okay,
Yeah.
holy shit. So everybody's just like going full bore with like cool new stuff. We actually we're getting stuff from a drop right before we recorded this. So keep an eye on what all the glass makers are doing. Support them wherever you can. They're making the coolest stuff. They're giving us play space to play in. So you definitely want to see them continue to make cool stuff. And I think with that, we'll say happy Halloween and until next time, catch you later.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.